Yesterday, Parliament voted to give the government another 6 months of the extraordinary powers it's had to deal with the pandemic. The majority of parliamentarians believed those powers were justified and necessary. Of course, COVID restrictions make it difficult to protest in the normal way if you disagree. So Helen Gray has got creative. She started a campaign called Cake and Liberty, and she's on the line now. Good afternoon, Helen.
Good afternoon, Cathy.
Well, Charles Walker's been protesting with a pint of milk. You're saying it with cake. Can you tell us how?
Yes, Cake and Liberty, it's making a stand both for our humanity and for our liberty. You wear something colourful, you bake some cakes, and on Saturday mornings, for 1 hour between 11 and noon, you head into your hometown or village and you hand out cakes and smiles to whoever wants one.
It sounds brilliant. If it's obviously within the current lockdown rules. How many people have you attracted to your cause?
Well, it's not really an organised campaign. It's just something I do because I want to make a stand. I mean, anyone can do it on their doorstep. It is law-abiding. It's family-friendly. And you get to rebuild a sense of much-needed community. Last Saturday, there were people in Stonehaven and Muffet, in little villages in Aberdeenshire, in Edinburgh and Broughty Ferry, and me in St Andrews. So mainly Scotland so far, but who knows? It's open to anyone who wants to take part.
Scotland today, the world tomorrow. You turned out with a banner, didn't you? And
yes.
How many people came to your cake stand, as it were?
Well, unfortunately, the centre of St Andrews, as I'm sure many towns across the UK, has been absolutely devastated by the closures. And I was horrified how very few people there were in our former bustling town full of independent shops.
People are supposed to be staying at home, though, aren't they?
Well, we are all under stay-at-home orders, which is something that I personally think is very difficult to justify now. So I was informally socialising outdoors in order to remain within the law. However, one elderly neighbour who I hadn't seen for over a year had heard about this, and she came into town specially, and she just blossomed. She'd been so isolated for a full year, and now that she's vaccinated, she wants to start seeing people and living her life again.
So she had one of your cakes?
She had one of my cakes, and she gave us a rousing sort of voice of support, as did most of the people that walked past us, including an assortment of students for whom we had vegan brownies especially.
Oh, very good. How many cakes did you give away then, or sell? I don't know. Were you giving them away?
Oh no, giving. There is no financial aspect to this at all.
How many did you get rid of then?
I made about 4 dozen trays of brownies. I will have given out two dozen of those. So yes, it's the people in Edinburgh had considerably more footfall, and they got through their cakes faster.
Oh, well done. Well, when did you decide? I mean, there's a serious point, because you were talking about the loneliness that people have felt. I mean, when did you decide that it had all got a bit much and you really had to do something?
I came to the decision that I had to do something a couple of weeks ago, when, despite the phenomenal success of the UK vaccination rollout, the goalposts were being shifted ever more into the future. I mean, a year ago, we all agreed to protect the NHS, and we consented to the temporary loss of our liberties. And as a result, all of us have spent the past year avoiding each other. We've been scared of each other, and we've been living lives of isolation. But it's different now. And I think the time is right to start taking small, brave steps back to normal and to reclaiming the liberties that have been taken by our government.
I mean, you clearly feel passionately and, quite upset about this.
I do. Well, yes, but upset isn't going to do anything, is it? We can all sort of sit and moan away and whinge online, But actually, the thing that makes a difference after a year of isolation is seeing smiling, happy faces. So that's why, and I know it sounds a bonkers idea, I'm fully aware of this fact, but to just bring some smiles to people's faces on the street has really been worth it.
I mean, the thing is, it is beautifully bonkers, and, you know, Charles Walker's milk protest is bonkers,
Yes.
too. But I suppose, you know, the other serious point, we've talked about loneliness, the serious point on the other side of the coin is that this terrible encroachment on our liberties has surely been worth it to protect thousands of lives. I mean, you know, 100,000 people have died already. You know, we had to have that curtailment of our liberties to protect more.
COVID is a terrible disease. It has taken the lives of our oldest and of our most ill, and across the spectrum. It is something which no one should not take seriously. But we have taken it seriously. We have essentially been in some form of restriction or lockdown for a full year. And we now have this amazing vaccination, which has completely transformed the picture. So whilst I was a supporter of restrictions at the outset, I no longer think that this level of restriction is justified. And I think that the harm that the restriction is causing in terms of school children missing schools, university students trapped in their rooms, in terms of people losing their businesses, seeing their hard-earned savings go down the drain, the delayed operations, the increased dementia, all of these things are terrible costs, which now, thanks to the vaccination, we can't justify restrictions any longer, not like this.
Helen Gray, Cake and Liberty Protests, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Coming up later on Drive, from lockdown to dangerous dogs to asylum seekers, we'll be picking through the week's news with our panel. Plus, later on Times Radio, Kate Borso is on from 10. She'll be